Welcome back to the Snowpoint Cast. Today we're taking a look at a deck from RS to PK, Tyranitar Delta. So before we get into it, I just want to say, for the record, this deck is not super good. It is really fun, and all the games that I put with it have been really cool. The mechanics in the deck are really neat, but I don't think it is very powerful. I just wanted to say that just so nobody rolls up to a tournament expecting to win with Tyranitar Delta. It is really fun, though, so let's get into why. Starting off with Larvitar, it's got 50 HP. Play the Delta one. Lightning type, Paralyzing Gaze for 1 lightning. Flip a coin if heads defending Pokemon's paralyzed. Really nice to have in a basic, honestly. And Horn Attack for 2 does 20. And then on the Pupitar, 70 HP. This is actually a really good card. So Delta species as well. Paralyzing Gaze for 1 colorless. Flip a coin if heads the defending Pokemon is now paralyzed. So just being able to have paralyzed on both your stage 2 evolution is really nice. It lets you stall it out if you need to. And then Double Edge for a fire, double colorless. Does 40, and then Pupitar does 10 damage to itself. Kind of nice to have that varying weakness, but it's not usually that important. It is really nice to have free retreat, though. This Pupitar, very oddly, has free retreat, so that's kind of actually really nice. And then you're playing 3 Tyranitar EX Delta species. So this is the main attacker of the deck. 150 HP, 3 attacks. So Electromark is the main attack of the deck that the deck's kind of like based around. This is the reason that I wanted to build it, because this attack is so fun. So Lightning Colorless Electromark, put a Shockwave marker on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So pick one of your opponent's Pokemon, you just put a Shockwave marker on it, which is kind of nice. And that has some synergy with Shockwave, which we'll get into in just a sec. So Lightning Double Colorless Hyper Claws does 70. The defending Pokemon is a stage to evolve Pokemon. This attack does 70 plus 20, so some decent damage there, but not super amazing for 3 energy on a stage 2, honestly. But Shockwave is kind of cool. So Lightning Colorless, choose one of your opponent's Pokemon that has any Shockwave markers on it. That Pokemon is knocked out. So just being able to hit an EX Pokemon with an Electromark, then hit it with a Shockwave marker, and then later on be able to Shockwave KO it. Kind of neat. The problem is Tyranitar usually isn't alive long enough to be able to Electromark and Shockwave. These guys go down really fast. EXs get hit for Desert Ruins. Also, a lot of stuff hits EXs for lots of damage. Bombtar especially is a really big problem. Really awful matchup for the deck. But kind of neat. And there's some cards in the deck that have a lot of synergy with Electromark and Shockwave, which we will get into when we get there. But moving on, you're also playing a 1/1/1 Dragonite line. So you play the Dratini, 50 HP, Lightning type, Thunder Wave for 1 lightning, 10 damage, flip a coin if heads the defending Pokemon is now paralyzed, so decent paralyzed attack. Dragonair, 70 HP, Delta species, Twister for lightning colorless does 20, flip 2 coins, if both are tails, this deck does nothing. For each head, discard an energy attached to the defending Pokemon. So this is actually an attack that I have used in this deck before. It's actually good to know that you have a discard energy option if you're out of all other options and you just really need to deny your opponent and attack next turn and they have energy on their active. This is an option that is good to consider. You're playing that for the Dragonite, though. So Dragonite, Delta species, 100 HP, lightning and metal type. Delta charge, once during your turn before you attack, you may attach a lightning energy card from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. So this is the main reason you're playing this guy. Delta charge, you're a 2 energy and 3 energy main attacker, so you need some acceleration to stream attacks, especially. And then with the Holon engine, you're just discarding cards, so being able to discard those lightning energies and then accelerate them is definitely nice. Also, a decent attacker, decent 1 prize attacker. You can force your opponent into a 7 prize game sometimes with, 1 Tyranitar, go a Dragonite, or 2 Tyranitars and a Dragonite, and then finish up with a Tyranitar, force a 7 prize game, which is kind of nice. So agility for Lightning Colorless does 30. Flip a coin if heads, prevent all effects of attack, including damage done to Dragonite during your opponent's next turn. So decent stall attack for sure. And then heavy impact for lightning, metal, 2 colors to 70, and that's an okay finish up attack as well. You're also playing a Fearow line, so you're playing a 1 Spearow, 50 HP, colorless type, claw for 1 colorless, flip a coin if tails. This attack does nothing. That's so awful. I never even saw that attack before. That's actually horrendous. Wing attack for 2 colors does 20, but you're playing that for the Fearow. The Fearow 60 HP, which is kind of low, honestly. Lightning type, but it's worth it for Delta Sign, because Delta Sign is like a great consistency option for this deck. So once your turn before you attack, you may search your deck for a Pokemon that has Delta on it, show it to your opponent, and put it in your hand. So that's why you play the 1/1/1 Dragonite line, just because you can be a little bit more consistent there. And just, you don't even have to hit the rare candy. You can just set up with Delta Sign consistently. Just search a Dragonair, then search a Dragonite if that's something that you need to do. And then we're also playing 3 Holon's Castform, just because it is a Holon deck. So Castform serves 2 purposes. So 50 HP, colorless type. The first is Delta Draw. One colorless, count the number of Pokemon you have in play that has Delta on its card, draw up to that many cards. So a decent draw support Pokemon if you start it, because you play a bunch of Delta basics. And then also Holon's Castform can act as an energy. So let's say you already have an energy attached, and then you have a Castform in your hand, and you wanted to attach a Castform. You attach a Castform, energy goes back to your hand, and then Castform is worth 2 rainbow energy. That's also what lets you have the metal energy for the Dragonite to be able to hit with heavy slam if that's something that you need to do. But because it's a basic Pokemon, you can search it with Mentor, and it's just a pretty consistent option in terms of energy to have. Also playing one Jirachi for a little bit more consistency. Wishing Star is super great. If Jirachi's in your active position, you can make Jirachi asleep, then look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose one of them, put it in your hand, and then shuffle the other cards back. So just a great consistency out if you start with it, or if you have a way to get it into the active kind of thing. You're also playing one Tauros, so 70 HP, 1 colorless. 2 reasons mainly you play Tauros. So the first is crush chances is the main reason. Once your turn, when you bench Tauros from your hand onto your bench, you may discard a stadium card in play. So just being able to discard stadiums is really nice. That's a searchable out. You don't play any stadiums in this deck. You just play Windstorms and Tauros. So being able to have that out that's searchable with Mentor or Holon Transceiver is actually really nice. Then Call for Family is a decent attack as well. Decent starting Pokemon. So for 1 colorless, search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon, put them onto your bench, and then shuffle your deck afterwards. So being able to, find a Larvitar and a Spearow, and then if next turn you can find a Fearow, you can just get your consistency going kind of thing. And then Horn Attack for 2 colorless rather does 20. This is an attack that I have actually used because you usually put 1 for Call for Family, and then if you put a second on a Horn Attack, it lets you get some chip damage in, which is actually really nice with Hyper Claws, because Hyper Claws only does 90 damage, which doesn't kill any stage 2s, but combined with a couple chip attacks, you're able to take some stage 2s out, so that's kind of nice. You're also playing one Holon's Voltorb. So again, for energy consistency, it's got 40 HP, and you can use Thunder Shock because you play Lightning. So Thunder Shock, 1 Lightning, does 10. Flip a coin if heads, the defending Pokemon is now paralyzed, but also acts as a colorless energy. Let's say you have a Castform active. If you have a Voltorb, you can just attach it like this, then it's worth 1 colorless. So just another Pokemon energy consistency that's pretty staple to Holon builds nowadays. Okay. So, getting to the trainer cards, we're playing 4 Holon Transceiver, staple for Holon decks as well, just a great card. Search your deck for a supported card that has Holon in its name, show it to your opponent, put it in your hand, shuffle your deck, or search your discard pile for a Holon supporter, put it in your hand. So just a great consistency out, mainly to get those turn 1 mentors. You just want to find Mentor turn 1. But there are some other supporters that are kind of nice to get later in the game as well. You're playing 4 POW hand extensions, so this is like the main fun, cool part of the deck. And I'm going to take a second to explain like why this is has a lot of synergy with the deck and why you play 4. Okay, so you Electromark something, and then Shockwave. You Shockwave to take it out, right? So that's pretty good, but it's really good if you have access to POW hand extension. That's one of the reasons I like attacking with Tauros or letting a Castform or Jirachi die first. You can have POW hand extension activated. So let's say your opponent has something that you want to take out. They have some energy on their board. You do 1 turn, you Electromark them, hit them with an Electromarker, and then they're Electromarked. They hit you back, and then you can attach next turn. If they have an energy on their active, and let's say an energy on something that you shock marker, because usually you're going to hit something with energy, you can do this. If you're down on prizes, you can POW hand extension. You can bring up, or you can do 1 of 2 things. Bringing up something else with no energy, and then just setting up with Electromarkers is a good POW play. But one of the plays that I like the best, and one of the reasons you play so many, is you can go POW, move an energy. So I'll read POW first. So move an energy card attached to the defending Pokemon to another one of your opponent's Pokemon, or switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with a defending Pokemon. And you can only use it when you're down on prizes. So if your opponent has like energy on a bench, you Electromarker the thing on the bench. If something on the active, you can POW hand extension, move the energy to the thing that has the Electromark, then you Shockwave and wipe the energy. So that's kind of a really nice option that you have there. Another really good option with POW, honestly, is just POWing something up and then building an Electromarker board just so you can hit some Shockwaves later in the game. But it's kind of a tricky deck to play because you usually don't want to start Shockwaving until you can take consistent knockouts on a board wipe. Because as soon as you start Shockwaving, if you're taking prizes, then your POW hand extensions aren't activated. So it's kind of a tricky... like, that's one of the reasons the deck is not so great. It's because you're forced to play a really passive game, and that can be a problem if your opponent just like takes out your Tyranitar somehow and you don't have another one. But yeah, POW hand extension, really solid card in the deck for sure. Also playing 3 rare candies. So choose one of your basic Pokemon in play. If you have a stage 1 or stage 2 card that evolves from that Pokemon, put it onto that Pokemon. So you can do this turn 1, which is really nice. You can hit a turn 1 Dragonite, or turn 1 Fearow is not so bad as well. But yeah, just so you can have that stage 2 consistency a little bit more. Rare candy is pretty staple in stage 2 decks. Also playing 3 Warp Point. So your opponent switches one of his or her defending Pokemon with one of his or her bench Pokemon, if any, and then you do the same. So, you know, obviously early game you want a Castform or a Jirachi or a Tauros active, and then you're switching into something else later, like into a Tyranitar, which is nice. Also, Cessation Crystal can tend to be a problem. Shutting off Dragonite and Fearow and Jirachi and stuff can be a little bit problematic. So being able to get that Cessation Crystal out of the active and get your powers back can be really nice as well. Let's bring 2 Windstorm. So Windstorm, choose up to 2 in any combination of Pokemon Tool and Stadium cards and play both through as your opponents and discard them. So mostly this is a counter to a couple things. I mean, Cessation Crystal, like I mentioned before, can be a problem. Crystal Beach shuts off your Holon's Castform, makes them one colorless, which is not very good. So that's nice to get that out of there as well. Sometimes Cursed Stone can be a little bit of an issue as well. Kind of just really depends on what your opponent is playing. Battle Frontier as well shuts off your Dragonites, which is not very good. So depending on what your opponent has, it's just nice to be able to get rid of their tools or stadium cards if they have some powerful tools or stadiums. Let's play 1 Swoop Teleporter. So Swoop, search your deck for a basic Pokemon and switch it with one of your basic Pokemon in play, and then discard the previous basic Pokemon. So mainly just to get your dead starters out of there. So let's say you start Voltorb or Tauros or Jirachi. They're kind of dead later into the game. So you can Swoop Teleport them into something else. Like if you can swoop a Jirachi into a Spearow, evolve it into a Fearow, then all of a sudden your mid-game consistency is a little bit stronger. So you just play one of, just because it's nice to be able to get rid of a Voltorb or something else. Start something poor. Also play 1 Pokemon Retriever. So search your discard pile for a basic Pokemon and evolution cards. You may either pick 1 basic Pokemon or evolution card, put it in your hand, or choose 3 and then shuffle them into your deck. So just a solid Pokemon recovery, kind of staple for most stage 2 decks. You need at least a little bit of Pokemon recovery, and Pokemon Retriever just covers that as a one of. Okay, so getting into supporters, playing 4 Rockets admin. Like I was saying, you want to go down on prizes first in this deck so that you can activate POW hand extension. So Rockets admin also has some synergy with that. Each player shuffles their hand, it is his or her deck. Then they draw up to their prize cards. So if your opponent kills a Tyranitar EX first, then you're going to be drawing 4, which is a pretty solid disruption option when you have access to 6 cards off of that. Also going to be playing 3 Holon Mentors. This is your staple setup supporter. That's the main reason you're playing Transceiver. Search your deck for up to 3 basic Pokemon that have 100 HP or less. Show them to your opponent and put them in your hand, and then shuffle your deck afterwards. So just great for finding stuff. Larvatars. You can get Spearow, Dratini, Castform. Castform and Voltorb can also be energy consistency, like I was mentioning before with Mentor, so that's kind of nice. I was playing 2 Steven's Advice. This is a great supporter. Draw a number of cards up to the number of your opponent's Pokemon in play. And if you have more than 7 cards in your hand, including this one, you can't play this card. So just if your opponent has 6 in play and you have 6 or less cards, including this one, then you can just raw draw 6, which is really solid. Raw drawing 6 off a supporter is quite good, which is why you play this guy as a 1 of, or as a 2 of. Also playing 1 Holon Adventurer, just another Holon Transceiver searchable supporter. Discard a card from your hand. If you can't discard a card, you can't play this card. Draw 3 cards. If you discarded a Pokemon that has Delta on its card, draw 4 cards instead. So sometimes you find some dead Delta Pokemon. Like if you hit some early candies, Pupitars could be dead. Or same for a Dragonair kind of thing. So being able to discard those, or just thin, or even discard a Lightning as well, right? With a Dragonite, Mentor and Adventurer. If you have a Lightning in your hand and also an attach for turn, usually that's your target, just so you can get the Lightning back with Delta Charge. I was playing 1 Holon Researcher. So this is for Pokemon consistency, another Holon supporter. Discard a card from your hand. If you can't discard, can't play this card. Search your deck for a Metal Energy card, which you don't play, or a basic Pokemon or Evolution card that has Delta on its card. Show it to your opponent, put it in your hand. So this can find Tyranitar EX. It's one of the only Tyranitar searchable cards that lets you find Tyranitar. Also helps you find Dragonite, stuff like that, Fearow. Usually you want to be getting Fearow first, because Fearow's automatically, like if you need a Tyranitar and you have access to a Fearow, you get the Fearow and then you just Delta sign for the Tyranitar kind of thing. But if you really need a Tyranitar and you don't have access to Fearow, then being able to find that or a Dragonite is really nice as well. Playing 1 Holon Scientist, so discard a card from your hand, and then if you have less cards in your hand than your opponent, draw cards until you have the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent. So really good if your opponent has a lot of cards in their hand. Steven's Advice is a pretty staple supporter. A lot of decks play that card because it's very good. If they draw a ton with Stevens, you don't really have that many, you can discard 1 and then draw a bunch to match them. And it's really nice because it's a searchable with Transceiver, so either early game or late game, if your opponent's kind of popping off with a big hand, you can match them, which is kind of nice. Then into the energy cards, we're going to be playing 10 Lightning just so you're consistent. You need, like, even with Dragonite. There is sometimes energy issues just because you're a 3 energy attacker to use Shockwave. So kind of big energy, so you need a lot and you really want to hit your attachments. So 10 is probably the lowest I would go with that. You also play 3 Holon's Castform and a Voltorb, so that energy line is pretty consistent there. Okay, well, this has been Tyranitar Delta. If you have any questions about the deck, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get to them. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next time.